is so many visual elements that all combine to create this real kind of slice of nature, which is, like you say, so accessible, affordable, and yeah, I think every home should have one.
Yeah, I do. Hi, I'm Gill, co-owner of Scaped Nature and Ray's a wife as well. I look after creating moss art, moss walls and terrariums as well. So I run any workshops we do with the terrestrial side of things. Moss art is basically creating a piece of artwork using different types of mosses, preserved mosses. We usually use bun moss and flat moss, but you've also got reindeer moss that you can use. It's just really beautiful. It really brings in a slice of nature inside. And there's just something very enchanting about moss as well, that it reminds us of forests and of hobbity holes and that kind of thing.
It gives like a sense of maturity, doesn't it, immediately?
Yeah.
And how much maintenance do they need?
Zero maintenance. The only thing you need to be careful of is keeping moss, when it's preserved, out of a direct sunlight. High humidity, so that would be like a wet room or a very small bathroom with very little ventilation. Lots of our customers have bought moss art to go above tanks because that kind of pulls in the nature element into the aquascaping as well. And the other condition is very dry heat, so above a radiator you wouldn't want to do that because it will just get very dry and completely dry out. Moss it's a natural humidity indicator, so when the humidity in a room drops below 40%, moss will dry out. So you kind of know that you're living in a healthy humidity if your preserved moss is still fairly soft.
How is the moss kind of obtained? Is it obtained from nature or is it grown in farms?
Yeah, so the live moss that we get for our terrariums and whatnot, that's all farmed sustainably, as is this preserved moss as well. And then what they do is they basically let it dry out and then they treat it with a glycerine solution, so it's non-toxic. It doesn't kill the moss, but it keeps it in a dormant state. So it's just shutting off. It's sort of like...
So it's not growing,
it's not growing.
Dying.
Yeah,
it's like
exactly.
in stasis.
Yeah, it's anti-static, but doesn't collect dust in it. Yeah. And it will filter the air. Even though it's been preserved, it still retains its physical property, which is like a sponge basically, right? So it filters CO2 and impurities out of the air. So it's got that effect, the kind of air purifying effect, but it's also got that link to well-being and being peaceful, and it just kind of makes you feel quite calm when you're around it.
Yeah.
Green is a very tranquil colour as well.
Yeah, so I guess it'd be useful in sort of stressful office spaces, working place.
Yep. Yeah, they've done a bunch of studies, and like it's seen to kind of improve well-being in offices and productivity as well by just helping people feel better, calmer, clearing the air, I guess, as well. Yeah, and over lockdown, actually, we've had quite a few orders for moss art because of people not being able to leave the house, or if they're in apartment blocks, not being able to have wide open spaces to go around in.
I think it's great because it helps to connect with nature, but because it's low maintenance, relatively low cost compared to a high-end aquascape, you're still getting the therapeutic value, but it's a lot, obviously, less expensive. And do you make them yourself?
Yes, yeah. I make them all by hand myself.
So they're all kind of Scaped Nature originals? They
are. There's no piece that's the same. And we use different hardscapes in it. So I use quite a lot of corkscrew hazel, which is this spindly, twisty sticks, if you like. Yeah. I've done some with bogwood before. I love using kind of all these roots if I can find them flat enough. Yeah. But, I've got my choice here. I've yet to try any with stones in, which could be interesting.
Yeah. And how do you actually construct it then? Do you have a mesh underneath?
No, so on the moss walls we use a cork board, or like a 5mm cork board, and I put together panels like that, and then when I'm going to install it in a client's office or home, then it's easy to transport, and then those panels come together. With the moss art, we build it straight into the frame.
So I've noticed in some of the moss arts you've used different plants? So some ferns, I think.
Yeah,
I've seen,
yeah. So we use some maidenhair fern. We used some of that in your wedding piece, didn't we?
Yes, that's beautiful. It's pride of place, and as soon as you open the front door, you see it straight as you walk in.
Yeah, it's big impact, you know, the piece.
Sets the tone.
Yeah, you can get all sorts of preserved foliages. You can get leaves and branches of leaves. You can get asparagus fern, but with the smaller pieces, you have to just be careful about the size of what you're putting in. And I really love the delicacy of the maidenhair fern. As well, we use a dangling preserved plant, kind of more swampy looking and more jungly looking, whereas the maidenhair fern, using that in it, is a bit more foresty. So you can like really, you know, change up the look and feel of them just by using different foliage.
Can you talk about your kind of creative process? Do you have a fixed idea of how it's going to, an end vision, or do you just evolve as you create it?
I look at a lot of pictures of moss on, you know, using Google Images, etc. Moss in nature and how it looks, really, how it grows, and how it's not completely uniform, and you get big pieces and small pieces all next to each other, and it's not just dotted around randomly, it's unified, like it's nature, right? I basically start with the frame, and I kind of have an idea of the pieces I'm going to use, the pieces of moss, and then I might do a sketch inside the frame of where each of the bits are going to go, and just so long as it looks organic and looks balanced, then I go from there.
What price range are we talking for a small?
So we do little tiny ones, not tiny, but what are they? 25 centimeters by 25 centimeters, and that's the starting point is £52 on those, and then at the minute it goes, the bigger ones, which are 52 by 52, go from 195, but you can choose kind of like what is used in it, so they're all made to order. But then we're going to be getting into some really exciting big ones with, you know, real nice chunky homemade frames, and we'll be able to use a lot of beautiful foliage in that and just make real statement pieces. Excited about having a go with that.
Yeah, and how can people order these?
Our range of the small and the large pieces, you can order those online.
Through the Scaped Nature website?
Yeah, through scapednature.com. And then I go from there, and it usually takes kind of 2 weeks or so for me to put it together and get it in the post to you. Yeah, depending on how busy I am with it all. And we've done a few kind of office walls, stuff like that. We had a dentist get in touch just before lockdown as well, because it's just that calming feeling before you're going in for you know, a root canal or whatever, and just they look for ways of being able to calm people.
I think it's great because it's just more accessible than the aquarium hobby, isn't it? You know, people they don't have to use any floor space, so they're hanging it on their wall. They're still connected with nature, zero maintenance.
No light required.
No light required, no watering, no spraying.
No, nothing.
So it's
just dusting the frame occasionally.
Yeah.
But the moss itself, you know, it doesn't get dusty. It doesn't collect anything on it, so it just stays as it is. After a couple of years, you sometimes may need to just refresh the color a little bit, and you can get some special refresh sprays. So we're actually looking into that and being able to supply that for people as well.
Okay. And has moss art grown in popularity?
It has, yeah. We've made it quite accessible for people. You know, it is available online from places. I think the first place it really started was in the States, and you've got some amazing artists over there, moss artists, using bespoke frames and just beautiful stuff. But what we've done is we've basically made it affordable and accessible for people by using kind of a standard frame, and then, you know, we're going to go into that kind of bespoke stuff over the summer, so it's exciting.
And have you got a typical customer, or is it span a whole range of?
Well, quite a lot of our aquascapers coming in, you know, as I say, to kind of have art to hang above their tanks, or just bring in a bit more of nature.
That's great. We love ours, and it's just a little slice of nature as soon as you open the door to the house.
Yeah. And what does it remind you of?
It reminds me of an ancient woodland. The nature of moss, it tends to grow in darker, more damp areas. It's a slow grower. So when you see a mature piece of moss on a fallen log or something, you know, you just gives you the sense of time, timelessness.
Yeah.
So, and I think that's what gives it its kind of peace and tranquility. It just reminds you that, you know, it's almost timeless, and the colour green and the fine textures, especially when you mix in the hardscape as well.
Yeah.
You know, there's bits of wood and the different textures of different mosses work really well.
Yeah.
In some respects, it almost reminds me of looking down,
bird's eye view,
from a plan view, a really, really dense forest. So I think it is so many visual elements that all combine to create this real kind of slice of nature, which is, like you say, so accessible, affordable, and I think every home should have one.
Yeah, I do. And it's, you know, you do find favourite bits of a moss art. You know, you'll kind of love this one patch of moss which has got spores coming out, for example, or a little bit of lichen in it, or, you know. And I love the fact that it actually still comes a lot of the time with pine needles in it.
Yeah.
And
it adds an extra texture and extra. Otherwise, it'll be too clinical, and then it spoils the whole kind of natural effect.
Yeah.
I love it. Thanks so much for giving us some insight into your moss art,
Thank
Gill.
you.